Hello and welcome to the BusinessXtoY podcast, the weekly podcast where we discuss business from a generational perspective. My name is Brian. I'm representing Generation X.
And I'm Brandon, representing Generation Y.
How you doing, cousin?
Doing pretty well. Had a pretty solid week. No complaints.
I got some complaints. I am sick as a dog. I am sick. This particular episode, we're gonna make this kind of a quick one. I'm going to do it with a cough drop in my mouth so I don't cough directly in the microphone. I know I'm going to cough eventually, but I'll try and turn my head. My apologies in advance if a nice sharp, phlegmy cough comes through on the recording. I apologize. I'll do my very best not to have that happen, but things can happen here. Today is Monday, November 29th. And we are recording, on Monday, November 29th. I said November? July 29th, in 2019. And this is going to be for release on Wednesday. Let me just make sure that Wednesday date is correct, seeing as I got the Monday date wrong. Yes, Wednesday, the 31st of July, 2019, the very last day of July. Can you believe July's already over with, man?
No, it was literally like a blink of an eye. It was a good month, though. I
Yeah.
had a lot of fun this month.
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot, but you know what? I'd much rather it be hot than have to shovel any of the snow nonsense. So I'll take it.
That's true.
All right. Since this is going to be a quick episode, and we went super long last week talking about car buying, and had no news stories, we're going to make this week's episode about the two biggest news stories I think in wireless phone history for the last at least 10 years, and no other main topic than that. But before we go on to that, let's talk about car buying real quick. I have some big news. You ready, Brandon?
Yeah.
I bought a car.
What kind of car?
Yeah, a Hummer H3.
What color?
Gold.
Oh, like a dark gold or like a bright gold?
More like a brownish gold.
Okay. So a gold with a little character in it.
That's right.
I like that.
That's right. And when I did it, I broke all the rules. I went there with no help. I had no backup. I took an Uber there. I didn't have a backup car in mind. And let's see, any other stuff that I didn't do? No. I had to lie about, taking the Uber there. I had to have the Uber drop me off a little far away from the car, and I walked in, and I told him that, that my pop dropped me off, and that he's going to come back and do a test drive on the vehicle, and he just never came back to the test drive.
Word.
Yeah. But
did you just know that it was a good deal?
Yeah, I lucked out. So that's the next, that's the final rule of buying a car. Get crazy lucky. I saw this car go up on the guy's website, 2 days after he put the thing up there. So I basically saw it before anybody else did. The price was crazy low. It's got a pile of miles on it, but in Florida, people have this where the outside parts of your car look beautiful. People beat up the interior. They just don't care. Nobody gets their car washed. All the time I see people with used cars, and then when they're taking the pictures and putting it up there, they got candy wrappers and straight up dirt in the picture they're trying to show you to sell you this used car. Yeah. So and it seems to be just a Florida thing. In upstate New York, when people posted their pictures on Craigslist to sell you their used car, they typically took it to got it detailed first, but not around here. And so the outside's got no rust on it, obviously, because it's been in Florida. And the interior is leather, and, it's got some nicks and cuts here or there, but it's not, dirty. It's clean.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And it's got a pile of miles on it, but, I got the, 200,000. Yeah, but it's a Hummer, and I spent way less than $10,000 on it. Way less.
Ew, though.
Yep.
We'll have that thing for another what? What's your estimate on how many more miles you're gonna get out of that thing already at 200?
I would think I can maybe squeeze another 4 years out of it. The transmissions on Humvees are pretty good. If I luck out, 6 years. If I get bad luck, 2 years.
And you think the even under on that is worth it?
Oh yeah, because it's I'm going to use it for business, so I'm going to make money using this truck, and I need something with good towing capacity. Also, like I'm getting to a spot now where, like I'm taking business meetings with other vendors and, other people, other professionals, and pulling up in a Humvee is a nice way to start a business meeting.
Yeah, that's true. That's cool.
And the outside of it looks beautiful. There's not a scratch on it. There's not a dent on it. Not even a little bit of rust. Everything's beautiful on the outside. Inside's pretty good. Gas mileage is horrible, but I got the electric motorcycle for my day-to-day silly stuff, and I'll use the Humvee for dropping products off, picking products up, and events and shows and stuff.
Okay.
So
sounds like a deal.
My car buying is over with for now, but probably I might sell it in a year. I might decide that I want to try and get a Jeep lease in a year. So we'll see. So that is the end of my my car buying thing. I'll send you pictures after we're done talking. And if we get some comments and people want to see pictures of my new car, I will stick them up on the website. I'm not bashful. I'll do it. I don't live the Instagram life, but I'll show off a little bit if y'all want to see it.
Make sure you blur your tag.
Blur my tag? What does that mean?
Like in the picture, blur your tag if you take a picture of the back.
Oh, my license plate. Got it. Blur the license plate. Yeah. I'll absolutely do that. I won't even send you a back picture of it. I don't want to do that. I'm messing with you. I don't care. But anyway, yeah. My brother asked. I have like 2 pictures on my phone, so I'll take it. I don't usually do stuff like that. But
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about. Let's start with I think what will be. I think this story is kind of a hidden gem story. But I think it's just as important as the second story. And I almost went with it second, but I think I want to start with it. And I want to start with Apple buying Intel's 5G modem division for $1 billion, like Dr. Evil.
Wow.
Yep.
Just $1 billion?
Just $1 billion. Just $1 billion. I was kind of surprised. I thought it could go for more. But, at the same time, though, Intel basically told the world that they quit 5G after having to fight with Huawei all these years, and Samsung's got a strong division, and Qualcomm has a death grip on the industry. Intel had actually already said that they don't even want to play anymore, and they were just going to shut it down.
So
Apple's,
that makes sense.
Yeah, Apple's buying something that Intel was on their way out to the garbage can with. And then Apple was like, hey, don't throw that in the garbage. I'll take it.
$1 billion.
$1 billion. So which is still a big piece of money, but in comparison, Apple has spent several $1 billion buying companies who make flash memory. Like the kind of memory that doesn't take a spinning hard drive that, goes in phones that they're using in their laptops and stuff like that. They've been buying companies that make that, and they own actually a sizable piece of the market in the flash memory market, enough to it's actually making European regulators and American regulators look at Apple like, what are you doing? Why are you buying all these companies that make hard drives? You make laptops. Why don't you just buy the hard drives from those companies? So, but that's a topic for deeper into this particular thing. But let's talk about the nuts and bolts of the 5G modem arena. Before I had brought it up, had you heard about this particular story?
No, I have not.
All right. And, I mean, you're, just to state for the record, you're an Apple user, right? Lifelong, right?
Not lifelong, but yes, I am a current Apple user.
Not a current Apple user. Okay. All right. I am not. I think I had an iPhone for a few days back when it first came out, and I instantly switched back. I went from Windows Mobile, which is a terrible cell phone operating system, to Apple. Had the Apple one for a little while, and then switched back to Windows Mobile. That was back in the early days, back when an iPhone couldn't send a picture message. You had to send it to somebody as an email. And then right from Windows Mobile, I've had Android, and I've had Android ever since, and never looked back. Always Android.
Nice.
All right. So with those two things out of the way, when you hear that your cell phone company has gone out of their way to buy a 5G modem maker, right? Does that get you excited? Does it get you nervous? Are you glad to hear that news? Are you worried about the price?
I don't care.
You don't care. Yeah,
Not really.
I kind of figured that was going to be most people's reaction to it, but it's kind of a big deal, and it kind of got brushed under the rug by a lot of the other news stories that goes around. Apple has been on this tear of, like I said, buying the hard drive stuff. Not just one company. They've bought enough of the hard drive market where hard drives, flash memory, drives, a sizable number of them are either owned by companies that Apple owns a piece of or all of, or is purchased by Apple. Apple, with not much work, could corner the market in flash memory, which could be a bad thing for everybody. If Apple decided between the power they have as a purchaser, right, and the power they have as a manufacturer to try and set pricing on flash hard drives, that they could set a price for their competitors that would make their competitors lose money on their handsets, and then set a price for themselves that would make it so they had a super competitive advantage. So between that and Apple's 5G modem, capabilities now, they've been, vertically integrating, their whole manufacturing process in a way that other, electronics manufacturers, don't see. Right now, they are the most vertically integrated, mobile technology company. They're more vertically integrated than LG, than Samsung, than just about anybody else that you can imagine. They own more of the components, the patents for their stuff, their own proprietary operating system, and they've had that for years, for decades, right? And and because of that, they are the most profitable per handset company. When Samsung sells you a Note 10, right? They make less money per same dollar price tag that Apple does when they sell you, whatever their highest end iPhone is. And that's just
all the stuff is theirs.
Yeah, because all the stuff is there. They own the operating system. They don't have to pay any licensing for that. I'm gonna cough. I know I'm gonna cough. Drop. And I will continue this conversation in just a minute.
You're sick. You're really sick.
Yeah, but the show must go on, right? Show must go on. All right. Cough drop inserted. I'm ready to go. So they own more of their own stuff than anybody else. Their own proprietary operating system, the patents on their own screens. I don't believe they make their own screens, but they designed their own screen, and they have the patents on it. That Rita display thing, that's theirs. And and while what was it? Foxconn, manufactures device, right? That Foxconn manufactures a device that Foxconn, I don't think, has any of the patents for on the iPhone. I think all the patents, or at least the vast majority of them, are owned by Apple. Shoot, Apple doesn't even pay a licensing fee on that little charger thing they stick in the bottom. That's theirs too.
Jeez.
Yeah. So like every other cell phone company in the world has to pay a licensing fee to use the USB-C or the micro adapter, whatever thing they stick on the bottom of their phones, except Apple. Apple owns theirs. So
you're getting the biggest piece of the pie.
Yep. So and the now that they're not even having to mess with Qualcomm for their chips, because we talked about that several episodes ago. Remember that when we talked about they were in that lawsuit with Qualcomm?
Yeah.
Now that they're not messing with Qualcomm for their chips, I mean, they get to even get a bigger, piece of the pie. So this is $1 billion very wisely spent by Apple. Now, like, with that said, like, what do you think the chances are that you're going to see a drop in price from their handsets?
A price drop in their handset?
Yeah. Zero. I think so too. I think you're not going to see it. Also, you're not going to see a 5G handset. Obviously you're not going to see one in 2019, but I don't think you're going to see one in 2020. I think you'll be looking to see 2021 before Apple, puts out a 5G handset.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're just running, they're just going to continue to run the gamut.
Yeah, and that's their modus operandi anyway. They're always behind on that new bandwidth thing, that new whatever, and and they know that they don't need to. Like, as we talked about when we talked more specifically about 5G, there's nothing that 5G does that you care all that much about, right?
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And what's the main reason you're gonna need to do? What's the main reason they need to happen for you to get a new phone? What's the main thing you need to see happen in the industry or in your life that makes you get a new phone?
My phone breaking.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. Yeah. So, unless the new phone comes with a drone, right? Free drone. Like actually, right? You wouldn't do that even, right?
No, not even.
Yeah,
I'd probably sell a drone.
Yeah, it would. There would be some market stuff that depends. But I do think that this is a story that's got like a little bit of coverage. I kind of dropped my phone when I heard about it. And when I heard about it, and I was listening to a thing that would cover it more in depth than other places would, it was just a blurb on what they were talking about, and they moved on to the next topic. I'm like, wow. So Apple picked a real good time to do this if they didn't want it talked about a whole lot. This has been kind of a crazy week for especially wireless news. So this didn't get a whole lot of play, but I think it's a big deal. That Apple gets one more step to being perfectly vertically integrated, which was Steve Jobs' dream, and Tim Cook is making it possible.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, and one last thing on this Apple thing, the thing that I think will change, that will finally, give Apple from having to do a 50-50 split with the Android market, and some years they're ahead and some years Android's ahead and blah blah blah. I think the thing that will make it so they go to maybe like a 70 or 80, 70-30 or 80-20 split with Android would be if they finally take that step and make it so, when you buy an Apple app, it works on your Apple computer, and when you buy an Apple computer piece of software, that same piece of software pops into your phone. It's the exact same operating system. All your phone does that your Apple laptop doesn't do is make phone calls. And then all your Apple laptop does that your phone doesn't is, it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So when I think this step is brought them, maybe not just one step, maybe several steps closer to doing that by, increasing the margins that they can have in their handsets, and also taking some of the headache out that they just have dealing with the outside sourcing. I think this will work out, good for Apple. And if they do make that last step, they make that all in one unit, that's fini. That's game. PCs and Windows and Samsung. Nobody's gonna be able to compete with that. Only Apple has a chance of doing that.
I agree, and I think that like you were saying also earlier, they're like the most vertically integrated company, so they're just going to continue to separate themselves from the pack easily.
Yep. This could be like Apple heads might celebrate this day as a holiday, in the future. The day that Apple spent $1 billion and bought Intel, and that $1 billion made them $1 trillion.
Yeah. True. It could be. We'll see.
All right, last story for this week, the T-Mobile Sprint merger. I have talked about it a little bit here or there. I've tried my very best not to cover it every single week. But the two bottom wireless companies in the United States of America are gonna now merge and be the absolute bottom wireless company in America. So the DOJ has approved it. This is bringing it one step closer to being done. For all intents and purposes, it's basically done. The only obstacle standing in Sprint T-Mobile's way is individual states. I think like 13 states, maybe 12 states, have filed lawsuits, saying this is going to hurt consumers. And I believe the correct answer to that question is, yeah, it's going to hurt consumers. So they're going to court, but now without the DOJ blocking it any further, those lawsuits for the individual states, they're probably going to get settled. And I probably, when you're talking individual states, the thing that's gonna get it settled is gonna be individual deals with those individual states. Like we'll build more, we'll put better coverage in your state. We'll pay into a fund. They'll make individual deals with these individual states, or all the states will get together and they'll make a big deal that will cover all of them. But I don't see the individual states fighting tooth and nail on this to stop it from happening, because I think with the DOJ approving it, I think any court, giving any of the individual states a win at the state level is just not likely. And individual states have budgets they gotta do. They gotta the same state that's having trouble putting gas in the school buses is going to try and fight a Sprint and T-Mobile in a courtroom over a merger. I just don't see them having the appetite to do this. My only hope to get this deal not being made was that the DOJ just drags it out, and Sprint and T-Mobile just get tired of it and call the deal off themselves. Kind of like what T-Mobile and AT&T happened, and that's what I was rooting for. But that is not going to happen. This is looking like it's going to happen. So you are a Metro PCS user, right, Brandon?
No.
No. What do you use?
I use T-Mobile.
You use T-Mobile. Okay. So are you as distraught about this deal finally going through as I am, or more like the Apple thing? Do you I don't really care that much?
I don't really care that much. I'm not really loyal to anything. I'm just loyal to the best deal.
Yeah. Well, and I think that just got harder. T-Mobile does this thing where they're the only cell phone company which includes the taxes on your bill. To a certain extent, that's a lie. But they at least put some lip service behind it. They pretend to do it. And the only reason they do that is to kind of Sprint drove them to that price-wise, and and they have to. They know they don't have the same kind of market penetration as AT&T, or the advantages that AT&T has by owning Dish Network. So T-Mobile had to do something. So that's what the thing that they did to try and get their average users up. And now without Sprint to push them from the back end, and AT&T and Verizon to push them from the front end, right? I think everybody's cell phone bill is going to start going up.
Could be. It definitely looks like it's trending that way because, they're taking up more market.
Yep. And I have been in the cell phone business for a long time. I've actually, the two companies that I've sold them, no, that's not true. But I've sold both T-Mobile phones and I've sold Sprint phones. Sprint is the company that I've actually sold the second most amount of handsets for is Sprint. Verizon, obviously, is the company that I sold the vast majority of the handsets in my entire life. But Sprint is it's a distant second, and T-Mobile is a very distant fourth. I think I've even sold more AT&T handsets than I've sold T-Mobile handsets, because the town I lived in, T-Mobile coverage was terrible for the longest time. But now that I live in South Florida, T-Mobile comes in great, and they're the cheapest company. They're actually even slightly cheaper than Sprint, especially for the amount of phones that I have on my plan. So I use them, and I've actually noticed that that my bill has kind of quietly gone up. Credits that they would give me in the past, they won't give me anymore.
Really?
Yeah, already. Yeah, since the merger was being talked about, my bill started to creep up.
Jeez, I didn't even know.
Yep.
I didn't think it happened like that.
Yep. No, it absolutely does. For a while they were giving me a certain amount of discounts, and then I got a bill in the mail saying, "Oh, we're not doing that anymore." And if you don't like it, you can go someplace else about it. But yeah, so yeah, my cell phone bill from last year is up about $100 a month. I have 10 lines on it, so. It's not like it's my personal bill's up $100 a month, but the business plan that I have is up about $100 a month, and I think it's partly due because they know they don't have to price compete. They're not worried about me leaving, because they, if you do the math on it, you look around, they really are the cheapest company there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple things that I don't like about the Sprint T-Mobile merger is, one of the things is the reason the DOJ finally approved it is Sprint has actually several different MVOs, or I'm probably saying that wrong, but basically what there are companies that buy cell phone tower space, rent cell phone tower space from Sprint, and that's Virgin Mobile and Boost.
Okay.
All right. So Sprint is supposed to sell those particular assets to Dish Network, and so the DOJ figures what they're going to do is that here's how they're going to keep competition back in the cell phone market, or keep it there with Sprint and T-Mobile merging. They're going to make Dish Network the fourth cell phone company. So it'll be Verizon, AT&T, and then Sprint, T-Mobile, one company, and then Dish Network is going to compete. And Dish Network. My problem with that is Dish Network has never won a fight ever in their entire life. They are the opposite of Floyd Mayweather. They're 0-50. They've been number 2 to Dish Network for the entire time I've been in this business, right? And then they're buying the 2 worst prepaid companies, TracFone and U.S. Cellular, Consumer Cellular. These are better, prepaid companies than Boost Mobile and Virgin Mobile. So you're going to give the worst satellite dish company the 2 worst prepaid cell phone companies, and then you're going to say, okay, now go duke it out with the guys who've been beating them when they were separate, this whole time. So I just don't see their rationale. If the DOJ wanted to keep competition in this market, they could have just kept the status quo, or let Dish Network buy Sprint.
Yeah, that is true, but I can't ever see Dish Network even be considered that. I think that's literally just because of the whole 5G push of it being more so of the whole home entertainment integration space.
Yeah, and hey, if they can really turn that around, if Dish Network is sitting there listening to this podcast going, hey, Brian, we're pretty good. I mean, no, we got a fighting chance. We got a plan. Then I take it back, and I will be really glad if I see Dish Network come out with, hey, put 4 phones on a family plan and get Dish Network TV and pay $25 a month per phone. If they do that, then I will give them a shot. I will go and sign up for that service, and give them at least a 30-day trial period on it. But since 1999 I've been in this business, and Dish Network has always come in a nice second place to DirecTV in a market, in a race where there's only 2 competitors. I've never seen them outbeat, do anything against DirecTV, and DirecTV's always $5 to $10 more expensive, and DirecTV's always a better deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just don't have a whole lot of faith if you give the worst worst satellite dish provider in the country the 2 worst prepaid companies, that they're gonna make a fair fight between all the now that they're gonna be 3 big competitors whose prices are all gonna line up now. Sprint T-Mobile is gonna be the same price as AT&T and is the same prices as Verizon. You're not gonna see a whole lot of moving around because they're all so big that they can just kind of leverage the clients that they already have to stay in business. They don't have to compete for market share anymore against each other, and it doesn't make any sense for them to do it too. If you're going to leave Verizon, you're going to need to have some cell phone company. So
yeah, that is true.
And now you only have 2 choices rather than 3 choices. And I get that 2 to 3 choices is only one less choice. And what's the difference between going from a market that didn't have a whole lot of competition to a market that still doesn't have a whole lot of competition? I get it. I'm complaining about the loss of one carrier, but I shouldn't be complaining about the loss of one carrier. We should be talking about having more carriers. There ought to be 6 big carriers in this country, all offering different stuff, all doing that. But instead, we've got these mergers that have allowed all these companies to basically flatten out the price.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And and the DOJ put a silly Band-Aid on it by saying, hey, Boost and Virgin Mobile, go ahead and go to Dish Network. I mean, if they're going to do that, then why not make Metro PCS, which is probably one of the better prepaid cell phone options, also go to Dish Network?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just it still seems pretty far fetched to me.
Yeah. No, here's what's going to happen. Here's my prediction. By 2020, somebody else will have purchased Dish Network and the assets from Sprint, and they will have sold those assets or spun them off. Those assets are going to be those Boost Mobile assets, the Virgin Mobile assets. They're either going to go away, or they're going to go to one of the other two, or maybe back to Sprint T-Mobile. In the very near future, somebody's going to purchase Dish Network, or Dish Network's going to implode, because I don't think we need. I mean, do we need Dish Network in this marketplace anymore? Doesn't DirecTV do a good enough job?
Yeah, I don't really think we need them. I think DirecTV is in a better place to do that than they are.
Yeah, DirecTV's owned by AT&T.
Yeah.
Which also owns HBO.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? That's not going to work out like that.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, like, their Dish Network is a goner. So I think Dish Network is a goner, and this is just going to make, them look prettier to somebody who's going to buy them and chop them up. And I think that's all this particular thing's going to do. So we're going to be back in a market with three cell phone companies, which all three of them have notoriously bad customer service, and the price is going to be flattening. Right now, if you're a customer, if you're just one guy and you want to get a cell phone with unlimited internet, unlimited talking, unlimited text messaging, do you know what the price you're going to have to pay at T-Mobile or Sprint is going to be?
No.
It's $45 a month at both of them, right? At Verizon, it's $45 a month, and at AT&T, it's $45 a month. And then the only thing that's different is if you get it at T-Mobile, you get Netflix, and if you get it at Verizon, I think you get Apple Music for free for a couple months. And if you get it at AT&T, you get I think HBO, or a discount on you get a discount on either your direct TV satellite dish service. I think it's $10 a month. You can get a discount on it, or you can get a discount on the Direct TV Now over the internet, service, and I think it's the same deal. It's a $10 discount, but which makes the minimum package for the Direct TV Now, like single digit amount a month. I think it's if you get it along with a cell phone package, I think it's like $5 a month to have a satellite dish service that goes to your phone or on your laptop. If you want to have satellite dish on top in your house, I think it knocks it down from $35 a month to like $25 a month. So, like you're going to pay the same monthly bill, the $45. It's just what extras would you prefer? Would you prefer, T-Mobile with Netflix? I think Sprint gives you Amazon Prime. If they don't now, they used to. I know that for sure, and I have no idea what Verizon gives you other than that. I've been seeing this commercial. They're saying they'll give you Apple Music for free for a few months, but that's the only difference. You pay $45 a month for just one phone of unlimited internet, unlimited text messaging, unlimited talking. No matter so no company is even looking to price compete for the individual line. The only time you start seeing any kind of price difference is when you go above one line, when you have two lines.
Yeah, that is true. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. I am not as optimistic for the future of Apple as I was in the first story. I am pessimistic for the future of the wireless consumer in the second story. I think we're all about to see. A couple of years ago, like 2015. Was the year of the cell phone bill going down, and it's been slowly climbing back up since 2015. And I think 2020 is going to be the year of the $50 a month per line cell phone bill. That there's going to be no reason to compete anymore. And I know when 5G comes out, it's not going to be like that's the same plan. They're going to want $10 more a month for 5G.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be 10. I don't think they're going to be greedy and go 30 because I think that'll get them in front of Congress. But I think if they charge $10 a month for 5G, I think that that will that will satiate their own greed and make it just a low enough amount of money where they're not going to have to be called into court over price fixing and the rest of that stuff. But I think we're all about to see per line on our cell phone bills, go up in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think so, especially with it being at the forefront
Yeah.
of what's new in the way.
And there's very soon there's going to be 3 companies. There's going to be no excuse for them not to finally beat us up the way they've been looking to do for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
All right, my voice is about to give out, and I think I've said all I'd like to say on the Sprint T-Mobile merger. You got any other nuggets of Generation Y knowledge you want to drop on us about that particular merger?
No, I think that's everything.
All right, man. Well, once again, thank you very much for being the best part of my week. Even though I am as sick as a dog, I am glad to be doing this. And till next week, go make a profit.